My name is Lon Safko, co-author of the Social Media Bible, published by John Wiley & Sons, the largest book ever written on the subject of social media. And today we are here with Matt Mullenweg, the founder and CEO of WordPress. Can you believe that? How cool is that? And we'll be speaking about social media and WordPress and what Matt's up to right now. So let's just kind of get started. Could you start out by kind of telling the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. So I'm Matt Mullenweg. I got started with WordPress about 5 years ago. It was, I guess it was 19. I was in Houston at the time. There's not a lot to do in Houston, so it was hot, and so I started blogging myself, and eventually got very frustrated with the software. So began working on improvements to it, and those improvements eventually became WordPress.
Wow, and that's the exciting thing. You say it so nonchalantly, but it kind of changed the way the world actually blogs. That's kind of exciting. And you can probably hear my enthusiasm because I'm an old HTML programmer going all the way back to early 90s. And when I was looking at the different platforms, I actually switched my website over to Joomla. But then I heard about this thing called WordPress. Oh, I know. I said it. I said the J word. I'm sorry. But there's a happy ending to the story. Even though I converted almost 100 pages into Joomla, the moment that I saw WordPress, it was like, oh my gosh. And believe it or not, I actually erased my server and redesigned my 100 pages using WordPress. So that's another one of those.
No,
Okay.
Actually, Joomla and Drupal and all those things are all open source, so we don't really compete with each other.
Right.
We're just, I consider anything open source like our cousin or brother.
And that's a nice way of looking at it, and it is kind of true, open source. It's just that I just find your product a lot easier to use, a lot more powerful. Personal preference.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about blogs. So you must have been blogging really for quite a long time. How do you feel about blogging in general? I mean, enough to create a company.
Well, for me, it was always very rewarding. One, to have the means of personal expression, right? I always enjoyed writing, so publishing was pretty exciting. And two, I would say it was really the interaction from the readers. So although blogging is great, for me, I blog because of the comments, because I know that if I say something that's wrong or anything like that, the readers will let me know.
And that's really true. I've blogged and had an error, and it was kind of cool how people came right out, and they were really polite about it, and they just say, no, this information is inaccurate, and it kind of keeps everything keeps us all honest, basically.
And it connects you to people all over the world that you would never meet otherwise. And what's cool is that, since at least my blog is very personal, it's people who are interested in the same things I am, be it jazz or economics or photography or WordPress. So being able to connect with those people on the web I find very, very rewarding.
And that's one of the things that excited me about social media and particularly about blogging is that we are in a global community. It's not just U.S.-centric, and that people all over the world actually will read your blog, comment on it. So you're interacting with people that 10 years ago you never would have had the opportunity to meet.
Exactly.
And to that end, weren't you just recently in South Africa?
Yeah, so I got back from South Africa, I guess, yesterday. The days kind of blend together.
Yeah.
And there was a great WordCamp there. WordCamps are sort of they're WordPress conferences. The first one we organized in San Francisco, and we still do that one every year. But starting this year, there's really been a bunch of stuff organized ones, such as users of WordPress who are passionate put together the conference. And it's everywhere from South Africa, where they had maybe 100, 120 people, to Greece, where it was like 50 people, to China, where it was actually bigger than the San Francisco one. They had 400 or 500 people. Really?
400 or 500 people came out for a WordPress or WordCamp?
Yeah, which I would expect for the San Francisco one, but it's really big in these places you would never ever think about. Buenos Aires, for example, was a great one.
Wow. How many WordCamps are there across the world right now? They're popping up everywhere?
So I think this year there's going to be between 15 and 20.
Wow.
So more than I'm even able to go to.
Yeah, that's a lot of commitment. Which, by the way, I also want to thank you for joining us for our third annual entrepreneurship conference that's coming up here in November. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Having a conversation with Amanda Vega, one of the things that she kind of pointed out, which I wasn't really aware of, is that a lot of the third world countries really can't afford computers, and a lot of the blogging and microblogging actually is taking place on mobile phones as opposed to computers. Have you been exposed to that?
Yeah, in South Africa, the stats they told me were there were 6 million computers in the country, internet-connected computers, like 40 or 50 million cell phones. So definitely, a lot more people are interacting on mobile. But I think for the large majority, the mobile experience is still too rough. It's fantastic for making calls or texting. For really what I consider blogging, you need a little more space, or at least a richer device, like a BlackBerry or an iPhone.
Yeah, so you can fully develop a thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the nice thing, at least what I'm doing on my website, is I can incorporate my tweets. My blogs become tweets. So there seems to be a little bit of a kind of a crossover between the two, where they're kind of feeding off of one another.
Another thing is that a really important part of blogging is just reading other blogs, and it's difficult to do that on low-end cell phone.
True. Yeah, and reading other blogs, too, is listening to other people in the blogosphere, what they're having to say and connecting with them.
Absolutely.
One of the things I also noticed, earlier I had mentioned that I converted 100% of my website, which was originally HTML coding, over to a WordPress platform. Can you address a little bit about how the search engines, whether it's MSN or Google or Yahoo, kind of treats the WordPress platform a little bit differently than HTML?
Well, we've always done super well in the search engines, and my philosophy there is not to try to do any tricks or anything specifically targeted at the search engines, but just to create a really, really great user experience. Have the content well organized, have a permanent place for a blog post, which is often called a permalink. And use proper HTML in terms of use heading tags for the titles for the post. And some of these things get a little bit geeky, but if you create semantic, well-structured, frequently updated content, I think search engines love that, right? Because they're just trying to serve their users, and by being one of the better resources on the web, they're going to send people to you.
And that is one of the things that I found particularly exciting about WordPress. Over the last couple of years, I taught SEO, SEM. I do about 100 cities a year. And, the questions are, what are the shortcuts? What can we do? And really, the two things that I heard you just say is content. Content is king. The better your content is, the better you're going to be read. But also the freshness of the information, and by definition, a blog is as fresh as it gets. So blogs kind of get preferential treatment in the search engines.
They seem to be indexed incredibly quickly. And I think part of that is WordPress, when there's a new post and about a ping, and then Google and Yahoo and everyone else listens to that ping and will index it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I've actually had blogs indexed and alerts coming back to me in 15 to 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, see, that's amazing. And that's one of the power, I think, of WordPress that most people, the ease of use is what everybody recognizes, but the preferential treatment it gets from the major search engines, I think, is awesome. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. So I definitely noticed that you just had an upgrade on your WordPress, because I just installed it. What kind of changes have you been making? What's coming down the road? What kind of secret surprises can you throw at us about the actual development of WordPress?
Well, the development is 95% user driven. So from release to release, we have a time schedule that we plan out a year in advance. But in terms of features for a release, it's really driven by our users and our community, what they're asking for. So, for example, in the last release, we had sort of a wiki-like tracking feature. So every version of every post is saved forever. So if you make a mistake or someone else edits the post, you can go and see exactly what changed. Things like that are just sort of something that your users would even know is there. But as a blog publisher or a blog author, it's a really powerful tool that none of the other engines or competitors have even thought about yet. But we were able to get it early because we listened very closely to our community.
You listen to your community, hence the term social media. And I think that's really where people are been missing the boat in previous marketing and public relations. And I think that's really where the power of WordPress and blogs are, is be able to listen to what the customers want.
we've never bought a dime in advertising. All the growth of WordPress over the years has been through, making a great product and making it easy for people to tell their friends about it.
That is cool. How do you manage, or the term I always use is herd cats, when it's open source and you have people all over the world just digging into the code? How do you actually manage and control and do quality control on that?
Sometimes I'm amazed it works in spite of me. There's definitely, from the very beginning, it wasn't ever a solo operation. There was a co-founder of WordPress, and sort of our philosophy got people involved. And so I think, if I had to think back to, since the development of WordPress was so widespread, and it was far more than a single person. That's one of our recent releases had more than 90 people contribute. I think what you really have to do if you're a leader of an open source project is lay out a vision, something that inspires people, something that people can coalesce around, and make them excited to work on it, even though they're not getting paid. Of the carrot and stick, all you really have is the carrot. So you really have to make it fun and engaging. And I think people will come, especially since open source is such an amazing way to have an impact. The reason I got started was I contributed a patch to V2, and I was just in utter awe that there were hundreds of people around the world, literally hundreds, running a piece of code I had written.
Wow.
Everything previously had just been something I wrote for myself or for a client. So that sort of rush was fantastic and addictive and stays with me to this very day. So, as a project, just make it easy for other people to experience that rush.
Yeah.
Because, also, it's good karma.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely believe in that. Jack Herrick from WikiHow, I asked him kind of a similar question, because, how do you run a public wiki? He's got 40,000 articles that he manages. It was kind of the same answer as you, is that people really believe in what you're doing. I mean, Matt, you changed the world. Whether you want to, you did. That's cool. So when you have that kind of a vision, do you see that people kind of buy that vision and believe in it, and really it's kind of altruistic, and that's why so many people rally around it?
Well, in the beginning, the vision was just to make software better, right? There wasn't anything grand. But as it started to pick up steam, it became obvious that maybe we could actually possibly have an impact on the web and democratize publishing and make it more accessible. And those types of things, I think, are really inspiring as well.
Yeah, I love the idea of democratizing publishing. I just interviewed John Blossom, Content Nation, and that's kind of what his theme was, is democratizing and giving everybody the power. The business model. When you and I talked a couple of months ago, we talked a little bit about, I guess the best term would be freemium. I mean, really, the majority is actually free, but there are some kind of upgrades that you can purchase. I mean, how does that work?
So, WordPress.org will always be a non-profit thing. So there's no attempt to monetize the open source out of it.
Right.
So when I started my business a few years ago, I wanted to make it sustainable, something that'd be around for many, many years to come, so we could support and contribute back to open source. So, like you said, we'll have a free service where people can sign up and get a blog, and really, they should stay free forever, and 99.9% of them do. But if you feel there's just some extra features, like maybe extra space for you to upload videos, or the ability to customize your design or tweak it a little bit, and we charge sort of a la carte for those. So, for example, domain names, so yourblog.com instead of .wordpress.com is $15 a year, and so that's very, very accessible to folks, but still, I think there's a lot to sort of raise your online presence and make it more legitimate and professional.
Yeah, and I think that's great to be able to have those kinds of services. And, there's really nothing wrong with actually getting paid for your time. And the prices that you just quoted there are more than reasonable.
And if you provide something of value and you're a part of people's everyday life, I think they're willing to pay for it. And I like that sort of model because it keeps you honest. The day that you're not really providing something and doing a service to your users is the day they stop paying you and you're out of business. So it sort of keeps things in perspective, I think, as a business.
I totally agree. And the two words that keep reoccurring that I've heard from everybody, Scoble and Hewer and the others, is really sincerity and integrity.
Sure.
And I think that's what you guys are about, and I think that's what blogging is about, is sincerity and integrity. And
for us, it's never something that we've explicitly said, but I think, the only way you can prove those is by your actions over the course of a long period of time.
And, of course, when you're blogging and you're pouring your heart out, you are transparent to your readers.
I try to be, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Can you, just for fun, because it is brain candy, can you do a little name dropping of some of the people, Fortune 500s or other companies, organizations that have actually adopted WordPress?
Sure. So, it's everything from Ford Motor Companies, several departments of the government, including the CIA, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, all use WordPress.
Wow.
A lot of the media companies, including the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Fox News, CNN, all of them using WordPress. So it's been kind of exciting to me because this means that, your blog on WordPress.com is literally next door to that blog covering the presidential election. So you have access to the same tools, same power, same sort of medium that they do. And
wow.
We see it every day where there's blogs out there who have as good or better coverage than some of the mainstream traditional media. And I see them really converging because mainstream media, traditional, whatever you want to call it, is really understanding. They're really starting to embrace it and embrace the transparency, the authenticity, everything. The New York Times, I think, is a great example of that, and we work pretty closely with them. And at the same time, as bloggers get better and sort of become more professional and have more and more content just being created, just the 1% rule,
Yeah.
There's, I think, something like 150, 200,000 posts a day on .com. So even if 1% are good, that's several newspapers worth of content.
It's huge.
And so it's starting to be incorporated, I think, in mainstream media as well, where they're pointing to bloggers more, they're quoting them, they're including their articles and writing. And that's, to me, really cool.
I think that's awesome. And again, it gets back to kind of trusted network. Once you build a relationship with your readers, they're kind of loyal because they trust in your integrity and the information that you bring.
I've always been fascinated by media because it's the idea of having a responsibility. The weight of educating the world on current events and everything is sort of on their shoulders. Mm-hmm. And that's a great opportunity as well as a big responsibility.
Yeah, that is. Is there any kind of estimates about how many people, how many blogs, how many people are actually using WordPress right now?
Our current estimate is 6.8 million.
Oh, God, Matt. That's amazing.
I know. I would have never. We only recently started to get some more accurate numbers around there, and it was much higher than I expected.
Oh, gosh. Well, truly, congratulations on that number. That's totally great. So,
Thank you.
So where do you want to take WordPress? I mean, where do you actually see it in 5 or 10 and 15 years? I mean,
my dream is for it to be around and relevant in 5 or 10 or 15 years, right? It's not common that really generational software is created. There's a lot of flashes in the pan, a lot of things that can figure out. So a lot of what I do these days is sort of laying down the foundation for 5 or 10 years down the road, or perhaps even a time when I'm not personally involved anymore. It'll still be able to thrive and grow and do everything just like it has before. And I think that it'll get to a point where WordPress becomes really more like a platform, just like OS 10 or Firefox or even Windows,
right,
where it's sort of a framework that'll set up a basic site and blog for you. But the really exciting stuff will be happening in the plugin and theme community, which is true today. But I think there's a few more things we could do to just make that easier for folks. And there's themes or plugins that'll transform your blog into really anything you can imagine. And that sort of flexibility, I think, will open up a lot of creativity in folks because now they have access to tools that can really capture their imagination. And I still think that today, the blogging is too hard, the website management is too hard, and people are still constrained. At the point when maybe 5, 10 down the road where it becomes completely effortless, and you never think about the software, you never think about HTML, you never think about any of that stuff. It's just you get on your passion, be it writing, photography, video, whatever, and the rest just happens automatically.
Yeah, it just becomes intuitive and transparent to the user.
Yeah, invisible.
Invisible, yeah. Absolutely. And that's actually one of the things that I really like about WordPress when I consult with companies and I set them up. I know that if I set them up on a WordPress platform, that using it is going to be easy. Just about anybody can learn it with no technical background. That's the power I love in it.
So if I had a dream, 10 years down the road, I'd say I hope 80% of websites in the world are powered by WordPress, but no one knows its name.
That's pretty altruistic. I love that. And I think you're well on your way to do that.
We'll see. There's a lot of the web to go.
Well, please, any support I can give you, I'm here for you. Is there anything else that you can share with our listeners about WordPress, where they can find out more about it, read your blog? Can you give us more information on that?
Sure. So there's WordPress.org, which is, if you're technically savvy, you can download the software and set it up yourself. There's WordPress.com, where you can go and just literally 1 or 2 clicks and have a blog, fully featured WordPress blog up and running.
Wow.
My personal site is ma.tt. That's it. Not .com or anything, just ma.tt. And on my blog, I post a lot of photographs because since I travel, I like to take the opportunity to sort of capture some of the things I'm seeing. And general WordPress news. My blog mostly about WordPress these days. It's really taken over my life.
Yeah, you got a pretty cool blog. I mean, it was kind of fun watching you travel around the world and some of the photographs that you've taken. And that's kind of the cool thing, is that you can share all that information and you can do it instantly from anywhere in the world. And we can kind of participate in your life and exchange ideas.
Cool. Well, I just try, you want to be a good example. So very much, really everyone that works on WordPress or at Automatic is a good blogger. And I think that's really crucial. It's one of the reasons why the software is as it is, because all of us are using it every single day.
True. Well, I love it. Again, congratulations. I'd really like to thank Matt Mullenweg, founder and CEO of WordPress, for being here today and sharing those insights about WordPress and where it is and where it's going and why he did it, and support WordPress. Also, Matt, thank you really from the bottom of our heart for not only doing this interview, but coming out in November to visit us in Arizona. So thank you.
Cool. Hey, my pleasure.
That's great. This has been Lon Safko, co-author of the Social Media Bible. Be sure to check out our other valuable social media tactics, tools, and strategies that can be found in the Social Media Bible book and the companion website, www.thesocialmediabible.com. For more information on me, Lon Safko, please visit my WordPress website at www.lonsafko.com. And again, Matt, truly, thank you so much for being here today.
No problem. I look forward to talking again sometime.
Take care. Enjoy.